Oh, hello.
Welcome, welcome. TelaTraan 2.
Me and Senna were talking a little Evangelion in between, and see, this is what I was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Okay, get it. I
oh
got
yeah,
it now.
Evangelion Optimus, who
Yeah,
is easily
on the
confused with
side, on the side
Shatterglass
of his
Optimus.
trailer, it says Nerve.
He has a repaint of Spike that looks sort of like Shinji.
And that version of Optimus's pajamas.
What? That's an interesting fight. And Mario,
I've
welcome
been
once again.
trying to figure out where this had gone to in my house, and it got in the far corner of my closet.
Mario says, "Oh boy, I can't believe what you guys have to say to this." And
This is why I got theirs. There's no middle paw on this, so hence no middle finger for every time, we refer to he who will not be named.
But I
We're
wanted to talk about.
we're gonna have a cosplay stream. Everybody come in their cosplay.
Yeah, speaking of other mecha series, I didn't realize that this was based off a old Sega Saturn game series.
Nice.
Gundam Blue Destiny is like 3 games, and then there was a game where they combined them all together, I think. So for the longest time, I don't know, we were talking on someone else's stream about Gundam stuff, and I looked this up, and then when I was looking up to tell them about it, I was like, oh wait, there's a game series? Holy crap. So I had this since it came out in, let's see, copyright 97, no, 99. I had this since 99, and I never realized it was based off a video game series.
99. Some people would say, "Oh, you guys are old."
Hey, somebody did what was it? One of the Honest trailers. That YouTube channel did a 35th anniversary for the 1990 TMNT movie.
Oh.
Okay, I was mad.
Yeah,
I was straight mad. 35.
I saw that. The guy did say, "Fuck, I'm old," in the trailer itself. Like the narrator just said that at one point.
But Mario is saying to set him, haha, nice PJ set him.
Yeah, this is my lucky happy hat. I got it after I was in the hospital for 4 days and 4 nights in the ICU, in the intensive care unit.
No.
I was like, hey, I saw it. It gave me a chuckle. I was like, hey, I just was in the hospital for 4 days and 4 nights. If this is enough to cheer me up, hell, I'll buy it.
At that point, I think you can just do anything, and people will be like, fair.
This is true.
Yeah.
I've got one of the hats that has the tails that come down the side, and you squeeze them, and the ears go like this.
Oh yes, wow.
Yeah. So, the Skybound.
Hey, your paws are connected. That's great. I didn't realize that
hey.
before.
Look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, this shirt.
Said them. You need to try and make plans and just come down here for OMG Con, man. You would have an absolute blast.
Oh.
You could stay right here. You can stay right here with me, and we spend the whole weekend down there at the con.
It's starting to get hot.
Yeah, OMG Con is just as straight up anime con.
Nice.
I've noticed that's what most of the cons are turning into, is just anime cons. It don't matter if you go
It's the cash grab. It's the biggest money value, or the biggest generational money value.
Well, I mean, they're
if you host an anime con, you're going to get everybody. If you just have a comic book con, you're just going to get the comic book people. If you just have a Transformers con, you're just going to get the Transformers people. And then when you say it's anime, then it branches into all of those.
Yeah.
Because there's an anime version of everything.
Transformers is connected enough to being anime that I can pick them up at Anime North, basically.
Yep. There was a guy on Transformers Liberated. I don't know if you saw his post or not. Spin today posted. He was like, found this great old toy store in this little hick town in Owensboro, Kentucky, and he was at my collector's mall, and I was like, that's my hometown, bitch. What are you talking about, hick town?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah. So the Skybound compendiums, the Kickstarter's gone live, right?
Yes.
I've done a lot of looking into this. I, I mean, $300 is already kind of rich for my blood, but yeah, the first thing that I discovered here was through actually checking what the prices of your average big hardcover 40+ comic issue compendium is. They're not ripping you off price wise, so they have that
No.
going for them. $300 for 4 of those is about fair market value. I've determined this. Yeah, and the other big advantage here is both that they're collecting all the UK comics like they're showing there, because those have been rarely collected.
Okay.
And B, that there's a version of this that you can get where you can read all the US and UK stuff in proper story release order. I don't think they've ever tried to do that before. And it's like, despite everything else, this is still probably the best way to read these stories, though I don't think a lot of people are going to be blowing 300 American in one go on them.
Right.
Yeah. There's a thing that everybody was trying to figure out, and it's about what versions of the American Marvel comics are in here. And we have determined, based on the scans, that it is probably not the good versions. And as somebody who is like a Marvel Comics fan, this really bothers me. And I brought pictures with me to demonstrate what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So the last time the American Marvel comic was reprinted, IDW Comics did it. And when that happened, the comics underwent a quote-unquote restoration, where they recolored all of them and made edits to the art. And these edits were not very good. And apparently, that's the version that's going to be in this collection, which is really bumming me out and a few other people.
Wow.
Because it turns out that is what the main version in Hasbro's archives is now. So I'm going to share my screen, and I was looking for some examples of some of the edited art here. Let me just get that happening. Window. I want the one that's currently showing a picture of the Kickstarter. Yeah. Let me know when it's up, because I can't see anymore. Because I got to look at my screen to manipulate it.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one. So this is some original art from what's the issue? It's the one with Grand Slam and Rain Dance. Because you can see them in the corner there. Now, Soundwave consistently throughout Marvel was purple, right? And you can see in this panel they gave him a mouth, right?
Right.
So here's the edit from the restored version. Not only did they make him blue, but they futzed his mouth out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the version that's being reprinted.
Not even a faceplate, just erased his mouth.
Yeah. And also, but that's the thing. Marvel Soundwave was purple. He's not purple now because in the restored versions, they consistently changed him to be blue. And so here's another thing. They made a mistake here that they attempted to correct, and then they messed up again. So this is from Aerial Bots Over America. And on the left, you can see we showed them who's boss of the skies, right Thrust, and it's Thrust that's saying the dialogue, and right Ramjet. Ramjet's over there. That wasn't Ramjet that said the line. Classic Marvel mistake. And they tried to fix it here. Ramjet's colored like Ramjet again. But Thrust still says, we showed them who's boss of the skies, right Thrust? Right Thrust. So bear in mind, that one on the right, that's their attempt at fixing it. They did not fix the mistake. They made the mistake even more nonsensical. And this is just a sort of example of the thing they would do, right? Where there's nothing wrong with this, but they just repainted Cup to look like his animation colors, even though that's just not what he looked like in the old Marvel ones.
Right.
And you can also tell just kind of by looking at him that the way he's been colored doesn't really match the rest of the art. It's clearly an edit, so it kind of sticks out a bit. So yeah, rather than using the ones on the left, this like definitive collection that they're doing is going to be reprinting this stuff instead. Which, for somebody like me and other people that are Marvel fans, this is kind of a problem, right?
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Not so,
So
definitive after all.
yeah, basically. And to be fair to them, Skybound did a live stream recently where they said like this is what exists in the Hasbro archives. This is like what they have now. Which, you know, I get that that's a problem, but also I'm like they could just like make new scans, you know, if they're going to be reprinting. The UK stuff doesn't have this problem, but also it hasn't been reprinted before, so it's got that going for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and there's another thing about these reprints that's very strange and worth talking about. And I gotta once you get to the question of what's in each set, so I'm gonna scroll up here. Okay, so I don't want the Telallareone compendium. I want the one. Okay, so here's the ones where the U.S. and U.K. stories are kept separately, right? All your favorite stories in release order. You got Transformers numbers 1 to 46, Headmasters 1 to 4. That's what's in the first big hardcover. Sounds good. They're missing the G.I. Joe crossover, which is kind of a problem because that's when Bumblebee becomes Goldbug. So they just kind of skip that over here. Apparently it's going to be reprinted in the G.I. Joe set. U.S. Compendium number 2, Transformers numbers 47 to 80, Transformers the movie 1 to 3, Generation 2 number 1 to 12. You know, again, they're missing the G.I. Joe story that leads into G2. But, you know, you can sort of say whatever. UK compendiums or all these stories that take place in between these. They have stuff from the annuals, which is also good. They have Action Force, which is the UK G.I. Joe. So they printed the UK G.I. Joe crossover. UK Compendium 2, got more of those stories. They have the annuals. They have the UK version of Generation 2, which only ran for 2 issues. That being in there is cool. But then here's the thing. This is the Telallareone compendium, the one where it's all in story order instead, right? US and UK are blended together. And you look at what's in here. Transformers 1 to 23, Transformers the movie 1 to 3, stories from the Transformers annual, the Women's Day special, which you can only get in this set for some reason. And then you go to compendium number 2. For some reason, over here, if you have to get this one if you want the G.I. Joe crossover, because it's only in this version, the other version that you can get. And bear in mind, the G.I. Joe crossover didn't come out in the UK because they didn't have G.I. Joe in the UK, so like that's not canon to this version, but you have to buy this version to get it. I hope this makes some measure of sense as I go along, that it's not too inside baseball. And then you go down, Compendium 3 is fine, you go down to Compendium 4. Only in this version do you have the G.I. Joe stories that lead into Generation 2. And they include this is the only version that has Transformers Universe also. So, to sum it up, there's the 2 versions of this you can back. You can back the one where it's 2 volumes of the American stories and 2 volumes of the UK stories, or you can back the version where it's 4 volumes and it's all the US and UK stories blended together. But you have to get that second version if you want the complete story, because only that second version has the G.I. Joe stuff and Transformers Universe, a bunch of extra things for some reason. It's a very strange way to do it. You have to get that set if you want all of it. If you want the 2 continuities to be separate, you're going to miss out on a bunch of stuff. Again, it's really pedantic, but if this is definitive, why do you have to only get that one if you want those stories?
Mm-hmm. And
that doesn't make sense.
You know, surprisingly,
Kind of reminds me of how with Spawn, with any issues where Angela popped up or Chapel, a lot of them don't get collected in trades after a certain point. And then with a lot of TMT, when they had the guest artist era, a lot of that stuff has some weird copyright weirdness too to getting reprinted.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, they took care of that here. They said they made sure they have the rights to reprint like the stuff with Spider-Man, the stuff with Circuit Breaker, the stuff that sometimes gets left out because of copyright with Marvel. They're like, that stuff's fine. So it seems like it's just a weird oversight that you can only get a bunch of important stories like the G.I. Joe ones and stuff if you get the version where it's US and UK blended together. Which it's like, okay, so I guess if you're going to back it, that's the one you have to get. But it's just also the fact that it's the terrible restored versions that are in there that also bothers me as a as a nerdular Marvel comic nerd, I guess. Like, you're not using the right ones. They're not unreadable. Like, if you have to read them, sure, but that's not the originals, and most of the changes are dumb and bad, in my opinion. You know, it's kind of like how people feel about like the special editions of the Star Wars movies. Basically, they did that to the G1 comics.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, I already wasn't gonna back this because it's too rich for my blood, but
especially the Christmas special.
yeah. Like, honestly, I was already not backing this because it's really expensive. But like,
I was on board until I found out it was going to be one big ass book, and I got these out. I showed y'all these before, so I picked up these, and I have
oh yeah, the IDW collections.
I have all three
Mm-hmm.
of these. Now these are the hard books, which are hardbacks, which is what you're going to be getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now imagine if, God, I don't know if I can lift all these up like this. So imagine
Your arm.
this is one bind,
Yeah.
because that's how you're getting them.
Wow.
It's one book that has all those comics in it. And
Yeah.
just this one being as thick as it is still hard to open and read without breaking the spine. Now, I'm a book person. I don't like to break my spines. Yes, I am one of those people that reads a book like this.
Huh.
But I can't see all the art and I can't see all of the writing like this. So I have to break the spine in order to read it. So
How many
that's one of the
issues are
reasons-
those trades? About like 20 or so?
Yeah, I was about to ask that too.
What's that?
How many issues were those trades that you were just holding up?
Let's see. 0 through 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 through 8,
Oh, yeah.
and 1 through 4, and 1, 2, 3.
Series.
Yeah, so this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. These are 18 books per one of these. Or at least this one is. This one's 18 books.
Yeah, I know.
And
Like, I have one of my Spawn trades for like the first 100 issues where they had like 20 issues or so per book. I want to say like the one that was like 80 to 100, and it was softback, and that thing fell apart.
But you were talking about price-wise. This one
Yeah.
book is $60 US and $80 Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think too. I don't think very many of these people are buying them to read them. They're buying them because they want them to be worth money in the future.
I guess.
And if that's what
a
you're doing-
foreign-
If that's what you're doing, great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Go for it. Because that's what I made the comment on Transformers Liberated, that congratulations on backing your new paperweight.
Yeah. See,
Because
what I
that's
grabbed
what you're
here,
doing. You're going to get this, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be this big.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
As
See, I
one
was going
book.
to say,
And Jesus Christ, this is, I'll bet this is 25 pounds. This thing's heavy. So you're going to get one great big thing, but then you're going to get the PDF files so that you can read them on your computer. Well,
yeah, that's
I
another
don't
thing that's
read
stupid.
at my computer. I normally
there's
read in the bedroom. That's where I read these.
There's a
Where I'm
tier on
laying
that
down and I'm
Kickstarter.
shutting down for the day,
Yeah,
and I'm reading.
there's a
and-
tier
or-
on that Kickstarter where it's $60 and you get a PDF of everything. That is dumb because if you want to read them as a PDF, there are plenty of totally legitimate places online where you can read the full Marvel run, and it's not
Yep.
$60. I said totally
Wow.
legitimate like this. If you're gonna pay money, you want physicals. What I was gonna say is I have this Spider-Man omnibus here that I have, and it's like the full Steve Ditko run, and it's about 40 odd issues. So that would be about the length of one of the Transformers trades because they're like 40 something issues, and I didn't find this unreadable. It took me like a year to read it because I was like very slowly making my way through it, but I was able to use it effectively. I don't know like what condition the spine's in. Maybe not.
Your spine
great,
is
but...
destroyed. Your spine
it?
is destroyed. Look at that wrinkle in the middle of it. Your spine
Okay.
is destroyed.
The spine is destroyed. Okay.
You.
It's been Batman Nightfall. It's been Bane.
It's because I read it. I wanted to read the stories. So
That needs to be a Murder Prime
That's what I'm
moment.
saying. And I
Yep.
would want to read those stories because I've never read. These are the first Transformers comic books I've ever owned. These.
Mhm.
Right here.
Really?
Wow.
And I want to read them. And it's rough because I don't want to damage the spines for me to just read
Mhm.
these. I can imagine if it was this thick,
Yeah.
how much damage I would do to it to try and read it.
Now, RJ Eagle has says, "Hey Magnus, are these the complete IDW Omnibus collection hardcover? Did you get it from Amazon? I would love to pick that up as well because I've never read the IDW run."
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if this is complete. We have a little store in Owensboro called the Book of Music Exchange, and it's one of those places where you can go in and buy books, you can buy video games, you can buy movies, and you can take old books in and trade in. Like you can take 2 books in that cost $10, and then you can get a free book that costs $10, 2 for 1. You know, so it's Book of Music Exchange, and you just sit same way with CDs and movies and stuff. They had these 3 in there, and that's where I got them. So I don't know if this is all of them. I have not completed the 3rd one yet.
Okay, so now before I get through everyone, so Fear or Courage, quick yes or no, are you going to jump on the Transformers Compendium?
No, because it's really expensive. Even before the fact that they're not using the good versions of the American ones. That's the thing that bugs me the most.
And Mr. Magnus, what say you? Are you jumping on the Compendium?
Marvel Soundwave is purple.
I did back it for $1 just so that I could see everything because I'm glad they're doing it. And anything to support my hobby.
Mhm.
I gave the $1 so that I could watch all of the all the milestones or whatever they're called, the legs.
Right.
I wanted to see how that all went, and I wanted to get the update. So I backed it for $1, but no, I am not getting it, but I'm supporting it.
Cool. Now, Toy Warp, what say you?
No, I still prefer to collect the actual comics, which I've got, I'd say, 80% of.
But do you have the UK ones?
I do not. That was
Yeah.
that was good. That was going to be completed after I completed the American run, but the comics weren't really high on the list for. I mean, I've picked them up where I find them, but they weren't high on the list to get. You know, I'm more interested in tie-in stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. No, RJ
Remember, like I
Eagle
said,
says. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
UK run. Like I said, complete UK part of it. That's the real treasure about this because that's way less common than the American stuff.
Right. And RJ Eagle says, "Thanks, Magnus. Also, I heard Marvel is coming out with the Transformers US and UK omnibus runs as well. I can't wait. I've read the US,
Discussing.
but never the UK stories." And I agree with RJ. When I found out about the comics, and then every month I was fortunate to get a copy, but I know there's a handful I didn't get back then. It was only the US one, so I've never had a chance to buy or see any of the UK comics. Even to this day, I've just never physically seen one of them.
Yeah, there is some good stories in there. They are very much worth reading. That's what Furman was doing before he took over the American run from Bob Budiansky. So a lot of this, that's where he got his start, telling that kind of stuff that he would later bring over to the US one.
Cool. And Set 'em Buck, what say you about the Transformers Compendium before we wrap that topic up?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I have a hard enough time keeping up with books that that are on my pull list, much less buying whole series compendiums. And the last time I did anything like that was, like I said, the first 100 issues of Spawn. When I got back into Spawn around the David Hines era after the Armageddon storyline.
Yeah.
So,
Or like I said, it took me about a year to read those 40+ issues of Spider-Man in that thing there. So getting 4 books of that size would be a commitment.
And initially I was thinking about it as well, just to kind of have a complete set of the the original series, because my set's not complete, so it would have been cool to have that and then include the UK ones, which I've never read. But
Yeah.
I mean, with the pros and cons of hearing it, it's like, probably wait a year or two and there's probably something better that will come out, or there's just online versions of getting it. But as Magnus says, I would rather be sitting and reading the actual comic book than reading it off a PDF, because I don't read comic books off of a phone or a computer. I want a physical book.
Now, here's the important thing. These are probably going to get soft cover releases. There's a listing for one of them already, and that's what they did for the G.I. Joe one they did. We don't know if they're going to print the UK ones, but the American ones at least are going to get soft cover floppy re-releases from Skybound.
Okay.
So, this is not going to be your only shot to read most of these. And that's the other thing that's sort of informing what I think about it. I'm could pay a lot of money now, or possibly a bit less money later for versions that aren't hardcover, which is fine by me.
Cool. I know. Before we jump into the tariffs, I know RJ Eagle had a quick question. But just before we switch over, Mario says, have you guys read the recent Skybound Transformers comic issue 19? And it dives into Megatron being tested by the Quintessons and learned that power that is apparently able to use mind control.
Now, I would be annoyed because I haven't read that, and that's a spoiler, but also, it's pretty obvious that's what was going on, so I would have been more shocked if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, because I know the issue where you get Starscream's backstory, and the first time he fires Megatron, you get the implication of the mind control from that earlier issue.
Yeah. He has to execute somebody, so Megatron changes into the gun in his hand, and this is a flashback to early Starscream, so he genuinely doesn't want to shoot the guy, and then the story seems to imply that the Megatron gun just takes control of him and shoots himself anyway.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Makes him shoot it. So I was like, that's not a surprise. They already teased that he has that power in this universe.
Yeah, Mr. O says, damn, it's Murder Prime time, and it's
the whole episode today. Where you at?
It's leading up to that. It is leading up to that as we are going
This is the good orange.
This is
the good orange.
I'm a very chill person, so that I think that comic thing is about as annoyed about as anything as you're probably ever actually going to see me. So it's the wrong ones. They used the wrong ones.
So now we set up Murder Prime moment. We got Murder Prime running in the background as we are now going to speak about the tariffs, which RJ Eagle said, what's happening, gang? Are tariffs being felt by anyone here at the moment? So
only in theory, not in practice.
Well, let's see.
Well, let me just put this out there.
Yes.
I'm not going to say I am the biggest buyer in our group, but I do a lot of international buying.
Mm-hmm.
I have been flagged by the FBI. And I hope y'all are watching, because like and subscribe, FBI guys, if you're watching and going.
I hope we're entertaining. I hope you like me going off about comic books. So.
And while they like and subscribe, if a member of the FBI wants to be a guest, and tell us some Transformer over the border stories.
Way to track me and my purchases, because I reveal them here every Sunday. So just like and subscribe. You can come right on in here, and you ain't got to worry about having no satellites or anything up top. But I have been flagged by the FBI for having over $4,000 worth of materials shipped to my house in the last 3 years.
Wow.
From overseas.
That's a thing.
Hope on the
Yes, and
land of the
so
free.
bullshit, boys, bullshit. Yes,
Oh,
so
no, right?
I have been notified, and all of my stuff will be watched. Even and that's what it was. It was a warning that so far nothing has been detected, but they are watching my shipping. Things that are being delivered to my house.
You know,
So
and
thanks, Timu.
Mr. O says, working hockey, the month of April is tough. And RG says, Streetwise is going to show up at Magnus's door. Streetwise, Groove, Prowl, and any other police barricade, especially barricade. You got to watch out for him.
Well, and I really do hope that they are listening right now, because if somebody comes to my house and they do not show a warrant and they do not announce themselves as law enforcement, be prepared to meet extreme prejudice when you come through my door.
This knows you know your rights.
That's right.
As we're seeing, it will be a definite live action Murder Prime moment. As we're seeing in the background, it will be a Murder Prime moment.
I hope they come when we're broadcasting too.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Which actually, there was a news clip. This is probably about 10, 15 years ago with one of the biker gangs, and it was funny that as they were raiding their house on like the morning television show, they watched themselves getting raided because they were watching the morning television and the news were showing it live of them raiding the house, and they realized they're watching themselves getting raided by the police. they didn't
Just
see it
imagining
coming.
like camera going through the window and they're looking at the TV and they look behind them at the camera and back and forth.
Yep.
This is now. Well, when is now?
This
Now
is
is
now.
now.
Can we
Now
go?
is
Yeah,
now.
can we go back? No, we can't go back. Why? Because that's then. But from Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yep. So now
It was then.
well, actually, I guess I'll throw this over to you, Fear. We'll get everyone and in between, we'll get some online comments and and everything about the tariffs. Fear, what do you say about the tariffs?
Well, the real curious thing for me is, as a Canadian, none of this is happening with us, right? So hypothetically, it should not affect us. But also, most of the companies that do business here are also American companies, and they want to keep parity. Parity, not the funny one. There's a non-Transformers thing that happened that kind of made big news. So like a day before the tariffs were a thing, the Nintendo Switch 2 made its like public debut. They unveiled it, right?
Yep.
And it has a date of release in July, I think. And they opened pre-orders, but then the next day all the tariff stuff happened, and they announced that they were putting the American pre-orders on hold until they figure like out what's going to happen, right? Release date has not changed. They're just like, we're just not putting it up for pre-order yet. We're pulling the pre-orders, but those pre-orders were still open in Canada, right? Because we're not the tariffed country. But then like 2-3 days later, they were like, okay, no, actually, we're pulling the pre-orders in Canada too, for the sake of keeping it even. Presumably because if it got released in Canada and not in America, there'd be mad Switch 2s going down the border.
Wow.
So it's a thing where like it shouldn't affect the Canadians, but there's a chance it might, because of companies trying to keep parity. The other thing is a few specialty online retailers like Big Bad Toy Store, and there was one other, but I don't remember which it was. They've been sending out letters. TF Source, yeah. They've been sending letters out being like, listen, we don't like this. We're probably going to have to hike our prices. We're going to be as transparent as possible. Anything that's in the country already, we're not going to raise the prices on because it's here, so it's not going to be affected. But anything that's coming in, We're probably going to have to hike the prices. We're going to decide them closer to when the pre-orders are ready to be fulfilled. We'll email you when your pre-order is coming up and letting you know what it's going to cost. And if you want to cancel, sure. We're probably gonna eat some crow on some of these prices.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a mess for them.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know. My opinion on it is that it is not good, right? Because it becomes like, do you want to buy deluxe sized class figures that cost as much as leader class figures if the price goes like double or higher? Are they still going to sell them if they do that? You know. But also, things have been changing so rapidly. Who knows if any of this is going to be relevant like 2-3 months from now?
oh, this is true.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, and then before we get to everyone else, there has been letters that were sent out from Big Bad Toy Store and from TF Source, and one of them from Big Bad Toy Store, they were saying tariffs, what just happened for 25 years, we were operated as a family-owned business under zero tariffs. Several months ago, 10% came in for goods made in China. It doubled to 20%. In April, a 34% was added, bringing the total to 54%. And then last night, another 50% was added. And on April 9th, another 21 was added. So bringing the total of 125% on Chinese goods. Vietnam subject to 46%. But it appears that this has been reduced to 10% for the next 90 days. What I do find interesting, and it's almost the reverse of what happens to us Canadian buyers. And Magnus will always mention something, and we always make fun of it, where Magnus will find something for $50, but for us, after the exchange and everything, it's almost close to 100 Canadian or 1 million Canadian. But now it's the reverse, where something will cost us 50, but then it's going to cost Magnus like 150, almost 200. And
I did the math about the comic Kickstarters. It would cost like $500, almost $600 to get a volume of 4 over to me in Canada. That's the other reason why I was like, no. That's also with the shipping, because they were nice enough to say what the shipping was right on the page to Canada specifically.
But I mean, a lot of collectors in different forms. Where I did save a few of them. I know it would take a time to go through all of them. A lot of people are saying that, with the cost of everything, at the cost of everything now, with the tariffs introduced, they're not going to do just the whim purchases where it's like, okay, I've got my set that I want to complete, and then I'll throw in a few extras. They're not bothering with the extras, and some are like, I'm just not bothering with the collection because like it's too expensive now.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem is not necessarily whether the collectors are going to purchase it. It's what does it mean for the company about whether or not the cost value of them releasing the things is worth it, right?
Right.
A big source of stress for Hasbro right now is probably the Leo Kaiser HasLab, right? Which has been funded, but it's probably not good. It's not due to be delivered until like next October, right?
Right.
So they're like, we're going to be hit by so much under the current rate to get it here. We'd lose mad money bringing those in and giving them to American backers. How do they handle that? Do they cancel and refund it if it's really not financially viable? Probably not. But are they going to bother doing any new HasLabs until they figure out until things stabilize one way or another?
Right. Now, RJ Eagle says, have you noticed the price hikes on some figures like Marvel Legends on some of the online retailers like Big Bad Toy Store?
I haven't checked. Not at brick and mortar, because, I always swing by the Transformers and other action figures section. That stuff hasn't hiked here in Canada. But I'm not totally sure if/when we're going to see that, right? Yeah, thank you for not showing that.
Let me ask you this, RJ, because I've never bought one from there, but I'm on the site right now. What did you used to pay for a deluxe Marvel Legend action figure? 'Cause I've got the site up right now, so then I could see if there's already a change going on. Do you know what they used to charge for one?
That can be tough to rate because those tend to be sort of all over the place price wise, even before like the tariffs and everything.
Now, as we wait for RJ to answer that, let me throw this over to actually, let me get some of the comments before I get over to Toy Warp and set them. And Dr. Globe, welcome Dr. Globe, says, aren't you guys in Canada? The tariffs may not affect you guys like here in America, but I'm no expert.
Like
a lot of us, we're on both sides of the border, myself and Fear, and Mr. O, who's in the comments, we're Canadian, and Magnus, Toy Warp, and Sedum are Americans. So it affects, our American friends more, but, in the long run, who knows how this may or may not affect everyone.
And like I said with the Nintendo Switch example, companies that are operating in the U.S., they're going to want parity up north here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a price hike in the U.S. might just end up being a price hike in Canada as well. Or a delay or something.
Charlie C. hiding in the comments says, Anthony, things might change in 2 or 3 days. This government has gone wild.
That's the thing. I'm keeping tabs on it. Every day, what they're doing
Market
changes.
manipulation and insider trading.
Well, I didn't want to get into that, but that does seem to be the case.
It's TelaTraan too. We can say anything we want, just about.
Yeah. It's a fairly brazen example of insider trading where the administration was like, hey, now would be a good time to buy stocks, and then some of the tariffs were taken away, and then the stock went up, and I'm like, that's the thing Martha Stewart went to jail for. I don't know why that's what I went to, but that's what came to mind.
It's all about power.
Actually, wouldn't picture Martha Stewart going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really sticks with you.
But Martha Stewart wasn't the president.
Yeah.
That's a difference. That is a difference. RJ Eagle, to answer Mr. Magnus's question, I used to pay $25.99, but I think now it's $27.99.
And he's correct. They are for the most part, most of them are $27.99 and up. There's a few of them, but that are less than that. But I'm guessing that they're smaller because I don't know what size of Marvel Legend. I don't know what size of Deluxe is. Oh, no. Legends Retro Collection 3.75 inch. So I guess that's a small, because it's only like $8.
Oh yeah, the Marvel Legends retros were like the little reaction figure sized guys. I got one of those here.
No, Mr. O says the real reason
Ditko
why.
Spidey.
Cool. The real reason why Canadians are staying away from the U.S. Our dollar sucks compared to the U.S. dollar. Nothing to do with tariffs.
Oh, water is wet. That's a known thing.
Yeah, and although funny enough, I would say recently, just because the markets are all over the place, our dollar's actually gone up a bit more. So for every $1 US, it's worth 70 cents Canadian. Whereas a few months ago, our dollar was hitting down in the 60s and I think the high 50s, 50 cents. So it's a really terrible exchange between the two, and then add shipping and add everything else going on. RJ Eagle says Super 7 Thundercats used to be $54.99, but now I think it's $59.99. Looks like it's certain companies, and oh yeah, definitely insider trading going on, manipulating the market like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like there's all these actual serious things happening, but if you take away people's special little treats, I think that makes them more annoyed than the big issues.
Well, it's like years ago when certain during the stay home period when they were saying, well, you either have to follow these rules or you don't have to follow them, but then they started kind of doing it in a sense where like, well, if you don't follow these rules, that's your choice. You're not allowed to work, you're not allowed to travel, you're not allowed to grocery shop, you're not allowed to do this, so go ahead and don't follow the rules. Just you're not allowed to do all this stuff. Over to Toy Warp, who has just disappeared, and I wonder if he can still hear us.
I can.
Okay, and so I threw a
He's
question to
talking
you.
his emotional support alligator.
There you
Yes.
go. Now we're gonna charge you extra to ship maple syrup over to you. But
What's new?
for you, in terms of things that you buy, I know you're more vintage. Has tariffs in any sense affected you for, say, anything that you do have to buy, like for cruisers, for instance?
None whatsoever. Most of the auto parts I buy are the parts are already stateside in a warehouse.
Okay.
I don't buy new Transformers, so I'm not worried about that. I'm not really big into consumerism. I know that kind of, but
As
I'm not
American.
supporting any like
Dudes
big
had the most to
corporations
show
or
and tell
anything doing
earlier.
this. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm not a big shopper,
Okay.
and mostly where my money goes is the vintage toys or parts for my classic cars. I don't do anything that really supports corporate America other than basing obviously grocery, gas, stuff like that. But
Right.
it doesn't affect me.
All right, and Seto.
Just
I know
out of curiosity, Torwarp, have you got your property taxes yet?
I've already paid them for the year.
Mine went up quite a bit.
No,
Is
mine
that
were the
a
same.
result of this?
Huh? I don't know.
Yeah, mine were the same.
No, mine went up $350,
Oh,
and nothing here has changed.
I mean, that's a state thing, really.
Right, but still, it filters back.
that is true. Mario, actually, RJ has said, you're right, Spin. The dollar has gone up to 72 cents now. Getting an extra 2 cents in the last couple of days. And Mario says, what has led to the economy having to make every expenses from other countries being shipped because we don't manufacture in America, which Mr.
It's
O.
really dumb. I'm not even an economist, but I read about what it is and how it works, and I'm like, that seems not.
Oh, it's really
correct.
stupid considering that
Yeah.
we don't have the workforce.
I-
Our workforce is
Look
completely
at the reasons why the
untrained
Great
now.
Depression happened.
Yeah, I read a column from Adam Paulus. He's a toy industry insider. In fact, this same column, I got a question published in it because I asked him something about Epic Hero stuff. And he did a thing about tariffs, and he was like, the whole point of the hypothetical bad idea that doesn't work with tariffs is to try to make everybody make all their things in America. And he's like, I've been, into toys and action figures since like the 70s. They've never been made in America, like ever.
Mhm.
Yeah. He was like, a couple of the Playmobil vehicles were made in the USA, and they didn't have any paint on them, and that's about it.
I'm trying to think of some old toy lines that were made in America.
Yeah. So the idea is, a lot of people falsely think that let's talk really basic economy, as in the stuff that I can understand, just so everybody's clear on how it works.
Mhm.
A lot of people falsely think that tariffs mean you're charging other countries money to bring their stuff in here. No, you're charging the people in the U.S. who are importing them money for having imported things. Because the idea is you want to encourage them not to import stuff and only get things that were made within the country. But that's not really a feasible thing, because most stuff is made outside of the country, like 90% of things, and for one reason or another, either they just straight up can't make them here, or it would take them like a decade to set up a factory, and nobody's going to do that. So what happens is everybody's just going to keep eating the tariffs.
Yep.
I just Googled it.
Yeah.
There's only 12 American-made toy lines.
Nowadays.
I've only heard of 1, 2, 3. I've only heard of 5 of them.
Wait, now before you mention them, Charlie C has a question, and I guess Well, answer that after you go through to see if it's in one of
No.
them. And interesting. I would have
No,
thought.
No,
Tonka
I
did
thought it was
GoBots.
too.
GoBots
I
were.
thought it was too.
I would have thought
No,
that
it
too.
was not.
So,
So here's the ones on this list that I've heard of,
Okay.
and
and one of
Revell.
them is kind of shocking that it's American. I would not have thought that Crayola, just because of the
Really?
name, was American, but Crayola is American.
Okay.
Ertl and Revell have got to be on this list.
Okay, K-Nex. That's your generic Legos.
Okay.
Connects.
Yep, K'Nex. Little Tykes.
I've heard of them.
The
Little Tykes,
the big-
Step 2.
Yeah, yep, and yeah, Little Tykes Step 2, and Lincoln Logs.
I guess. Yeah.
So, here's the ones that I didn't know. I've never heard of Green Toys.
Diecast.
Okay.
I got
Land
toys
of
right here.
Dough. I'm guessing it's probably a Play-Doh offshoot.
Yeah.
Wildflower Toys, and it's got like these big-eyed dolls on it. Maple Landmark. Crazy Aaron's Toy Farm.
That's
Yeah.
a fake thing. That's a made up brand.
Roy Toys, R-O-Y, Roy Toys,
Okay.
and I was saving the best for last. Uncle Goose.
You sure that's not a Canadian company?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ertl and Revell's got to be on there. Well, Ertl's technically bought out by somebody. So in the past, yeah, this is counting current companies. So you're not counting companies that have been bought and sold.
Did
Oh,
Ertl
okay,
make their
okay.
stuff
We all
stateside?
know what Uncle Goose is.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Goose is a Grand Rapids-based business that specialized in handcrafted wooden block toys. So all them little square cubes that we used to get that had the alphabet and shit on them,
Yes.
those are Uncle Goose toys.
Okay.
And also the wooden shapes that you dropped into the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So we can make crayons and
Yeah, it goes in
wooden
the square
toys
hole.
And,
That's an
and
Uncle
construction
Goose
things
toy.
here.
Where's Ertl and Revell used to be American made? I wonder if since they're not on that list, where that stuff's made now. I mean, well, yeah, probably China, but Ertl and Revell used to be all American made model kits, like
Yeah.
planes and cars and stuff.
Now I wonder if Uncle
know
Oh,
Goose
this
is.
okay,
Correct.
okay. I didn't realize this.
Mhm.
Land of Dough is the company that makes Play-Doh.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, handcrafted in Pennsylvania. Lando is Play-Doh. It says Land of Dough, comma, Play-Doh is handcrafted in Pennsylvania. It was called Land of Dough, and then people gave it the nickname Play-Doh, and so they made that the name of the sale.
Nice.
Interesting. So are we going to pivot to being about Crayola or Play-Doh once? That's all we can...
I'm gonna throw this over to Sedum. Although I do have a question, and a question I guess anyone in the comments can answer is Uncle Goose, the brother to Mother Goose, and as I was creating the Murder Prime background that we see playing. What I find interesting is Optimus only ever seems to be upset when he's on Cybertron, whereas he doesn't seem to have Murder Prime moments on Earth. Because both of these
Being
happen
a
on
considerate
Cybertron.
guess when he's on Earth.
Or actually, no, because that one's on Earth, because that's at Autobot City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was about to
So
say,
Roy
you're showing the
Toys-
movie on Earth.
Right.
Roy Toys are the KOs of Lincoln Logs. And they're both,
What's more
and they're
American
both
than
made in the
bootlegging?
US.
That's
They're
an
both made in the
interesting name.
US. Well, Roy Toys are colored, so if you see it, Lincoln Log sets that are not just the brown, green, and orange, those are Roy Toys.
That is funny.
Right,
I gotta
first
look at what
streaming show
Crazy
dedicated
Aaron's
to Lincoln
is.
Logs.
What is Crazy Aaron?
No, send him.
Yeah, I want to
over
know that one, the fake one.
Yeah. No, send him
Wow.
over to you who does order newer stuff. How are these tariffs going to affect you? Or have
So
they?
far, I hadn't seen anything. price wise. Trying to think stuff that might be affected. I mean, I hadn't bought. Well, I bought most of the manga I buy is used, so I don't. That doesn't get affected. Maybe some of the new manga might go up in cost. Most of the comics in the U.S. are American produced, so that won't be affected. Transformers, I hadn't seen anything yet. I don't know about Mattel, which is Masters of the Universe, Turtles of Grayskull. What's the other toy line? Hot Wheels. That's what Indonesia of some of
Malaysia.
them made. Malaysia. But those are so cheap. It's like you're some places. If you let's say if you see some Hot Wheels at like a 7-Eleven, they might be like $2 a pop. But if you're at the dollar store, they might be only $1, $1.25. So it's like I don't expect that to be noticeable, particularly noticeable. Playmate Toys. I can't remember where they're based out of. Like we make TMT ever since the 80s. I hadn't seen any increase with them. I guess the video games would be the main, like the Switch, Nintendo kind of playing footsie with like, do we not allow the pre-release pre-orders and whatnot. That's been the only real thing I've seen like recently from it. And then just a whole lot of news about market manipulation and insider trading. But I pay attention to the news and the world news and whatnot. So
it is entirely plausible that this may all blow over within a matter of a month or two.
Yeah.
I think right now everybody but China yet again called it off.
Hasbro's Transformers right now, a lot of them are made in Vietnam. Who was initially had like 104 something tariffs, which was nuts. But now I heard they might all be paused except for China. Would that put Hasbro back in the clear? I don't know. I don't know enough about how this stuff works.
Yeah, they've been. I think if I remember right from Slag podcasts, like they've been totally based out of Vietnam for a while, at least for Transformers anyhow. I don't know for Marvel Legends and Star Wars and all that stuff. But I mean, they've been because they upplanted all their factories in China and went to Vietnam quite a while ago. I don't remember how far back Slag Podcast said that was, but I know he did a segment on the tariffs and whatnot recently.
Charlie C says Amazon increased the price of Super 7 figures, and Michael O says Mr. O says Nancy Pelosi and China and Canada.
I need more context for those statements.
So Nancy Pelosi, she's a Democrat, but basically Trump, Biden, Pelosi, and Mitch McConnell, they're like these politicians who are like obscenely much older than the average American politician and citizen, and not only average but median ages as well. And then you got to consider that Trump's a server spoon, so that's not only he's not of our economic reality of most Americans, so how is he going to actively represent us? He can't. And then he's a server spoon. So he's never had to, financially struggle to earn his keep because he's a server spoon. He had daddy wiping his butt since, he was a baby. Well, his dad's, servant or whatever. But it's like, and it's just another one of those politicians, U.S. American politicians who have way too much more money than you really should have. So.
Well, Charlie C says a lot of countries are talking about pulling their American bond. So I would say, what effect would this have in the toy industry in general? Especially in the sense of Hasbro, since they're already struggling within the fan base in certain senses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they already had the new CEO changing how everything's going to be going, backing out of making movies, and G.I. Joe. I mean, Power Rangers went kaput because they were like, that's not quite doing well enough. So they were already in a transitional period before all this happened as a company.
Well, plus they're going to be, switching more toward, video games and internet media more than toys. So actually, their timing on that sounds like it's pretty damn good.
You know what? Were they reading the tea leaves on that? Then again, it's hard to switch to video games when, like the Switch 2, for example, is just being put on hold until everything stabilizes.
Yeah, because it sounds like the only video game stuff they really wanted to develop was the mobile game crap, not an actual
Oh,
proper
yeah.
for PC or console.
Which I mean is funny with Chris, the CEO, saying he's more of a gamer and cards than and pulling the plug on all the movies. I still seeing a lot of comments, people asking, when is the GI Joe Transformers movie coming out, and when I reply in the comments, we already covered that Hasbro's no longer funding those movies, so
Yeah.
it
Nobody
just may
said
never
it's not
happen.
happening, but we also haven't heard anything about it in a while, so...
But then also him focusing on video games and then pulling the one game that everybody's been waiting for. I found funny.
In the current state of the Transformers and movies, you're going to have someone pull a Jared Leto like he's doing with Tron, where Leto's financed like a quarter of the damn project so he could star in it. Yeah, basically that's what you're going to have with Transformers. You're going to have
He's starring in it? God.
Yes, he's starring in it. And you who's not starring in it? Bruce and Boxleitner, aka Tron.
God. But I was like, because I was like, here's the thing. I was like, I knew they were making Neutron. I haven't watched the trailer. I knew Jared Leto was starring it. And I was like, why would they do that? Nobody likes him. And now you're like, oh, he paid the bills to get the movie made. That's why. Of course, that's how he's in there.
Yeah. I don't have anything against the guy. I really don't. But anything he touches is just box office poison.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like him. He's not a great guy. And also, he's not a great actor either. He was really well cast in Blade Runner 2049 because he played a creepy weirdo, and he is a creepy weirdo. Everything else is like, nah.
Well, I guess he did have a critically acclaimed movie, The Lighthouse, with him and I think it was Willem Dafoe.
That wasn't Jared Leto.
No,
that
wasn't Jared Leto.
Batman.
That was the guy who played Batman in the
Pattinson.
recent
Yeah, I'm getting my
movies.
skinny little nerds mixed up.
Yeah, that was a good.
But,
I hate it when it happens.
The whole scene
Robert
of,
Pattinson's cool. We
I
like him.
think
He was like,
you
I don't
looked at my
like Twilight,
face.
but it's paying my bills. Now
You're
I'm
fond
gonna
of
do
my
weird movies and
lobster.
Batman. Yeah.
I refer to him as Cedric Diggory.
Oh yeah.
that movie.
He got his big pile of money from Twilight. He spent all those movies like trashing it in the press as the movies were coming out, being like, I think these suck. I'm just here for the money. And now he gets to be Batman and make The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and stuff, So I'd say he's had a pretty good career.
Whenever I see
he seems
lobster in the
likable.
grocery store, I'm like,
You're fond of my lobster.
Yeah.
So
people will be looking at me, and there's always at least one person who knows what I'm referencing. They're not like,
So Crazy Errands. I've actually had this at my house. I forgot that's what it was called. Crazy Errands is like silly putty, or not silly putty, like Play-Doh and modeling clay, but it's hypoallergenic and it's non. What's that thing where people can't have wheat?
GMO, or sorry, yeast.
Gluten?
Gluten.
It doesn't activate gluten allergies. Like Play-Doh will, if somebody has a gluten allergy, Play-Doh, they can't play with Play-Doh. Two friends of mine, their kids had that, and we had Play-Doh competitions for Easter. They could make, design an egg. And I had to buy this stuff so that they could also build and have multiple colors.
Right.
Like the kids who were playing with the Play-Doh, but we had to have two separate tables. Yeah, it's a hypoallergenic modeling clay.
Okay.
And it's really expensive now. I don't remember spending that kind of money on it. But yeah, it's like $60 a can.
Whoa. Yeah, that's a bit much, Michael. Mr. O says no pause for China in Canada. Also says Pelosi is famous for her inside trading. There are websites that track her inside trading to give everyone else a chance on how to trade in the market. And Mario says, I'm really do want talking about economic and political going on in the world. I think we can carry on this discussion in the comments and in our social pages on You can find us on Facebook.childrenofprimus, on our Instagram, on the comments here on YouTube, and you can also check out our website, childrenofprimus.com.
I write reviews on a frequent basis.
Yes. So speaking of which, or actually, Mr. Magnus, what are you going to say?
So if we're going to be American-based toy collectors, we got to get into generic Legos, wooden children's toys, Little Tykes and Step 2, Wildflower dolls, Crayola, and Crazy Aaron's.
Crazy errands.
Place. Yeah,
Say what you will, but there's probably a collector market out there for each and every one of those toy lines.
Oh, I bet they are. I bet there are.
Crazy
Oh, I know that there is Crayola people, because I remember seeing a video about somebody trying to collect a color they don't make anymore. So that's a thing.
Yeah,
This
I
is
would
true.
believe so.
I didn't look up green toys. So green toys are plastic toys made for children that are manufactured start to finish in the USA from recycled milk jugs.
Oh, cool.
Yep, that's what green toys are.
I'm
All right,
sorry,
I
I
gotta
thought
find
you
out what
said
a
green light. Green light is a
Green
diecast,
toys.
but you said green toys. I'm sorry.
Hey, those look good. Yeah, yeah. These are children from 0 to 2. These are great big chunky toys.
Well, Mr. O says, fun facts, Play-Doh was originally made to remove wallpaper.
Does it still do that? Is that still a thing you can use it for?
Mario's apologizing. He says, I never ever want to talk about economics and political implications on the world right now. That's what I meant to say. And
Well, generally we don't, but this has kind of walked right into our house.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mario, I don't know if you can see behind. Let me turn on these other lights back here. Yeah, there ain't none of this stuff coming from America. Damn. Like I said, I don't know if you was here for it. I have got a letter from the FBI because in the last 4 years I've had over $4,000 worth of material shipped to my house from China. So, yeah, it's here. I mean, we're going to be dealing with it. So,
Yeah.
we're just putting it out there. We won't do this every episode, but this was the topic and we broadcasted it out. So yeah, we get to have our murder prime moment and say, fight the power.
There you go.
Yeah. Where was this one saying?
Charlie C says, I'll go back to playing with red cars.
With
With real cars.
Oh, real cars, yes.
Well,
Yeah, considering most of the parts of those are made in China anymore.
Right.
No,
That's why I like my old stuff. I can still find stuff made in at least
I sent y'all the video
continental
of that
USA.
El Camino.
Yeah, that's yours. What year was I right on the year in '80?
Yeah, it's an 80.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I miss having an El Camino. God,
Yeah, when we
the
got
original,
it,
the original
when we got it, the
Multmobile,
engine-
baby.
When we got it, the engine was blown in it, and my sister's now husband, back then it was just her boyfriend, he had that 350 Chevy out of his Corvette sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And because he had taken it out because he could never get it to run right. And so he told Dad, he said, it's a great engine. He said, but there's just something off in it. He said, there's something just really bad with it. He said, it's all cammed up. He said, and it may just be too big of a cam. He said, but I can't get it adjusted right for it to stay running.
Camshaft?
And so, a cam in an engine, it opens the valves up. And when you hear people say that they cammed up their car, they're making it get more. And that's when you get that sound that goes,
Yeah, that's when it starts sounding like a race car.
Wow, okay.
yeah, that's cammed up. That's what that car sounds like. It's
Yeah, I mean, it sounded more like a half-inch cam in that thing, but it's probably the valve lashes off.
Right. Well, Dad worked on it for 15 minutes and sent a video to Bill of it running. and it was the distributor cap was 180 degrees off.
That's a
Wow.
common mistake, actually.
Yeah, it was just turned completely around, so the timing was completely off of it.
Yep.
Yeah, he put everything together and rolled that flywheel up to where that mark was at the top, like that, and took the first spark plug out and shined down in there, and that valve was all the way down. He said, "Well,
That would do it.
There you go.
I've made that mistake before.
An
yeah,
expert.
he just rotated that thing around and turned her over, and she fired up. That had it for, like I said, 2 days and worked on it for 15 minutes, and boom, there it was."
So as we're gonna close the evening, Mr. O says, "Hey, they're bringing back the El Camino." Which I'm not
No, they're
surprised. Many older cars just somehow resurface. And Mario says, "I know that collection of figures you have is not made in America, and when I think about making me go scared, what's happening the whole thing."
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question.
Well, it's what he's saying. Basically, it's the whole political structure of everything is kind of scaring him, and I mean, and a lot of people, because it's they choose not to talk about, or rather not to talk about it, but it is a scary thing overall, because especially the fact of we hear of what's happening in the news one day, 24 hours later it switched to something else. 72 hours later it switched to something else. So and it has been affecting a lot of stuff. So it's right now it's a play-by-play, because Monday morning we'll get some other news, and who knows what's happening then.
Yeah, you got to find a good balance between making sure you have a decent beat on what's happening, but at the same time, protecting your mental health by not getting too deep into it. You got to find a balance.
Yes.
That is correct. Just to treat
And
news
that's
as
what
news and
this
disconnect.
does for me. This is
Yeah.
my relaxation room. I
Mhm.
come in here, play with these, get on the computer, blow some mechs up, something.
That's it.
And
Oh, FBI
yeah,
heard
now
of
they're
special
they're
word.
trying to. That's right. That's right. I blow up mechs. Go ahead and look that up. Look
To
that
the,
up.
to the
Blowing
FBI,
up mechs.
the Children of Primus does not
MECHS.
endorse.
We do endorse the killing of mechs.
In video games.
Mech warring.
Mech
That's
warriors.
right. Mech
Mechs and the
warriors.
warring thereof.
As we have a image of Optimus Prime greeting, having a nice special greeting with other robots in the background.
That's right.
Some way to describe
That's
it.
right.
Settenbach Arts, what do you have coming up for the week?
I'm trying to think. I'll probably post some stuff to Boobs and Bots tonight. So some preliminary Hot Wheels stuff. I have like a Star Wars land speeder, and then I got a Tankinator that you can put little mini mates or Lego people or small little like 160 equivalent whatever scale Hot Wheels are, that size of a figure in, because I don't have to worry about it being road looking. So I'll probably start doing some more postos, and then I think I got some Turtle Grayskull stuff to post. Trying to think, was there anything else? Let's see. I know I go to the dermatologist tomorrow. Let's see. Rolling. Where is it next? Turtle to Grayskull. Hot Wheels. Yeah, and some gotcha toys that I didn't. I'm not posting the set on box arts. I'm just posting the Boobs and Bots, because I couldn't come up with something more artsy fartsy and or more silly meme centric type stuff. So
Cool. No, Mr. O says, don't be scared. It's all propaganda, media, fear mongering, BS crap.
That
Yeah.
is an angle. They always want the most inflammatory thing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be a little bit informed, but also be aware about what reaction they're trying to get out of you.
yeah,
Cool.
be aware of how much news media isn't so much news, so much as theater.
As entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Clickbait.
because it's like, if they're emoting, it's like, I don't want to see you emote. I don't care about your opinions and your emotions if you're a newscaster. be neutral. Just give the facts, give the information. I don't care about your feelings and emotions. But most American news media doesn't do that, sadly.
And Mr. O says boobs. Mr. Magnus, what do you have coming up for the week?
Well, I've still just got the two things in my pile of loot at Big BBTS. Should be more hitting this week, or in the next 2 weeks anyway. Pre-orders. Come on. Come on. What's wrong with you? There we go. So in the next 2 weeks, I should be getting a Fallen from Age of Prime's leader class. Should be getting Scrapper and Bone Crusher. And then the rest of them are in May. And that'll be the aerial bots. August is the other two Decepticons. Yeah, so right now, just in my pile of loot, I still just have Transformers 1 Optimus Prime and Transformers 1 Bumblebee.
Cool. I don't think Mr.
I
Magnus noticed
saw
that.
the toy guy. I think he had a review on that Studio Series Bumblebees. It looks pretty nice. Like
It
not
doesn't
many
look
of them
bad.
aren't interested in getting, especially like B and Optimus being a dime a dozen of how many of them you see. But I like the transformation. What I saw with how they use the legs in the Studio Series kind of remind me a little bit of the old Prime Viacon figure that had like most of the top of the car fold compress into the calves of the legs. Like that Bumblebee Studio Series Transformers 1 Bumblebee does something similar.
Yeah, Transformers 1 is one of the Studio Series guys. I'm probably gonna go in on them because they're coming out at a pretty slow rate. So it's not like a lot of cash in one go, but also movie I liked, character designs I liked. So I think Bumblebee, Sentinel, all those guys. I'll probably be picking them up once I find them locally.
I had Transformers 1 streaming again while we were making the soup yesterday. Yeah, we made we made 40 gallons
Yeah, I
of
saw
burgoo
how many
yesterday.
pictures of that on Instagram and Facebook.
I saw that.
Yeah,
My movie night that I do Friday sometimes. A couple weeks ago I got to show it to most of those guys who aren't Transformers people, and they all loved it. So successful mission.
Nice. Before we get over to Fear and Toy Warp, Mario says, Michael, this is supposed to be like a PG-13 stream, not R-rated. To explain it, we have two segments. So we do TelaTraan 1, where we include Impactor, who is one of our younger members. So that is our family-friendly segment. And then our TelaTraan 2, which is just all adults, that's our quote-unquote R-rated segment. So, to keep ourselves... not in trouble when we have a younger viewers or our younger audience within our stream, then we keep it, family friendly during TelaTraan 1. But for TelaTraan 2, that's when, we would hear the things as we were growing up. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? So it's,
that's right.
there you go. And Michael, Mr. O also says we need to do a daily tracking report of Magnus big bag toy store orders.
The FBI is taking care of that for us.
Yeah, true. You're like, look, we got no problem. Just how about we make a deal and you send us those things so we don't have to track it.
There you go.
I'm just going to get in real good with them so that whenever they see somebody else's collection, I can go, well, y'all just send that over here. You already know that they're coming here anyway.
Yeah,
so just
gravity well.
Send those on. I'll get me another box like I got those blokies. It'll just be random, and they'll say, "Thank you for being a cooperative with the FBI." Hey, we like it. We like it.
Well, in one of the Facebook groups that Fear and I are in, someone who had their, I believe it was from Big Bag Toy Store, someone had their order destroyed at the border, and they're not sure if that was a legitimate reason that was given to them. But apparently the order came in, and it was destroyed, and they never got their order. But then someone else got their order. But the reason given to them, or given to the toy store, what essentially whatever Transformer was ordered was returned, but it was destroyed at the border and not allowed to come into Canada due to an infringement. And everyone was questioning an infringement on what? Like, it's so, everyone's kind of like, we don't understand what happened within that transaction. But I mean, on the Canadian side, we're used to, like, you order something, it goes straight forward, or occasionally they'll throw in a customs tax to make sure it's, a safe item. But I've never heard of, nobody's ever heard of an item being destroyed and not being allowed to get sent to the person.
Awesome.
Over to you, Toy Warp. What do you have coming up on either Toy Warp Vintage reviews or on Cruisers Motorsport?
Nothing going on Cruisers Motorsports this week. I'm working on another summer drive for that. However, got something special for you guys over on Toy Warp. If you've ever wanted to see what it looks like when someone opens up a sealed USS flag,
Oh, yes.
Look, you get that posted?
Is on Toy Warp.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, as I was filming it at the end, I literally had to walk away because I was just depressed. I got really depressed over that, actually.
Oh, no.
Not because they were opening it, just because I know it's gonna go for probably more than 10 grand, and just probably never have one.
Well,
I'm looking. I'm trying.
Well,
I'll find us a
Curious,
deal.
since
I'll
was
find us a
anyone
deal.
else into Dino Riders?
Nah.
Wow.
I mean, I know of it, but
That's
Gosh,
a
I
very
remember
expensive toy
those.
line to collect.
I remember I had the big ass Brontosaurus.
I would say whoever sent the mystery person that still is a mystery, whoever sent Mr. Magnus the Christmas gift, and we don't know who it came from. We just know it was from the west end of the west side of the U.S. Maybe this person might be willing to find a boxed USS flag and send it to Toy Warp. You don't have to say who it is. Just send it and say Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be boxed. If it is, great. Doesn't even have to be boxed. 99%, 90% up.
That's it.
90% complete and up. Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah.
See, I have a different mentality whenever this stuff happens because, like, when I'm at TFCon, I know there's this whole subset of stuff I'm never going to be able to afford, but getting to go there and look at it and maybe poke it like it's like it's a zoo, like it's a petting zoo, there's a whole appeal in that to me specifically.
You know what? Mr. O has just thrown in a theory of who the mystery person was that sent the Christmas package. It was the FBI.
Yeah.
They're like, look,
Fucking
we
schemers.
know, we know what
Trying
you're
to get on
into.
my good side. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
So all of the FBI agents in all the different states, within the U.S., as Mr. O was saying to Mario, but this includes like all members of the FBI, make sure to like and subscribe to Children of Primus. Also, make sure you hit the notification button too. And
It's the easiest way to keep tabs on us.
Exactly. We're not hiding anything. I mean, it's we're collectors in disguise for a reason. And fear or courage, what do you have coming up for the week?
Okay, well, my last review, I finally got around to talking about the weird little Rock'em Sock'em Transformers 1 guys. Nobody ever talks about these kinds of gimmick toys in any kind of detail, so I got the chance to do that. They transform, they battle. They're still on shelves because movie gimmick toys never seem to move very much, yet they make them every movie for some reason. So I got a big detailed breakdown of these guys. Next up, I'm probably going to do a non-Transformers thing, which is I have continued to collect these little Spider-Man Epic Hero guys, so much that I'm going to do...
Oh yeah, I have that Green Goblin.
Yeah, last year I did a review of like the whole first two waves of them because I just owned them all because they're $9 Canadian, guys. They're you can get them when you go get your groceries. And so this is basically I've got enough of them now. I'm doing a second review where I'm just running through another bunch of them. They made a Spider-Gwen. That's probably the most hard to find one. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get back to Transformers, but for now, I'm like, I want to talk about these guys again because they're neat, and I don't see any. Again, I don't see anybody talking about them.
Where is it?
People talk about Marvel Legends. They don't talk about these little guys, so I want to. You know.
Cool. So you can catch those reviews on our website, childrenofprimus.com. Mr. O has mentioned that we're at 470 subscribers, and also
Blaze it.
says, help us to get to 500 folks. And a quick Google search
You got
says,
the same Green Goblin.
Yep. Got him riding on the little green goblin dinosaur.
not Yoshi. And
That's the evil Yoshi.
a quick Google search says the FBI employs approximately 38,000 people, including special agents and support professionals. I mean, that's 38,000 listed
If you all
publicly.
subscribed.
But then who knows how many Black Ops are all within outside of that number. So if all 38,000 of them subscribe, that will help pass us our 500 mark that we are aiming for.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Quite a bit. So I thank you guys for
ordering more. I'll start ordering more. That way they have to. They'll send out a thing and say, okay, we need all of our available agents.
FBI
gotta follow
surveillance
the
man
guy.
031 has just now subscribed to you.
That's right.
Not a Fed 911.
911. And Shiva Kobe says, Super Mega Costco run and my feet are killing me. So it's a Sunday evening
You should
time
get a
to
sponsorship deal from Costco.
exactly.
Right.
Kick up those feet and relax. So thank everyone in the comments. Like and subscribe to our channel. I always thank you guys for taking your Sunday evenings and hanging out with us. And as we say at the end of every stream, till all are one.
All are one.
All are one.